We didn't change who asked the question.
Oh,
'Cause
yes. Well, because I had it in my mind that, oh, sorry. Okay.
The tape didn't back you up, so we
No.
we didn't make that change.
That's fine. Okay. I will call the meeting of the Design Review Board today, Thursday, March 9th, 2023. Can the staff confirm that the Kansas Open Meetings Act requirement has been fulfilled?
We can do that at this point, and then we'll go to roll call and see if we have a quorum.
Okay. I know, if there's nobody online.
I can confirm that the packet was posted and the required notice of hearing of the meeting was provided.
Okay. And then if we could get a roll call?
So are we in a position, Dustin, where we know whether anybody is joining us?
Yeah, we do have Miss Noonan online on Zoom.
Okay, so I'm going to call roll. Board Member Romy, Board Member Manley, Board Member Martins,
Present.
Board Member Noonan,
Present.
Chair Kitchen.
Here.
Okay, so we have a 5-member board and 3 constitutes a quorum, and we have provided proper notice of today's meeting, so we can now move on to conduct today's business.
Okay.
I have placed at your places there, but not Miss Noonan's place because she's not here, a revised set of minutes from what was in the packet. And just by way of explanation, it was called to my attention that the way that the minutes were phrased in terms of a question I asked at the hearing made it call into question whether the removal of the awning was part of the certificate of compatibility application for 304 South Santa Fe. So we clarified in the minutes that what I was questioning or referring to was the paneling that was down below the awning, not the awning itself. So that clarification has been made on page 2 of the minutes, and that differs slightly from what we sent out in the packet. So any motion to approve the minutes of the meeting should be to approve the minutes as amended.
Okay. Any questions before I?
Nope.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I'll move to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll second them.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. And then we're moving on to new business, item 3.1.
Our new business for this afternoon is a certificate of compatibility application that was submitted by Gleason Sun Signs on behalf of Spicoli's Sandwich Shop that is located in a storefront in a building located on the west side of North Santa Fe, south of Ash Street. And specifically, this is the former Klein's department store and now the site of Big Nose Kate's on the 2nd floor. And we're talking about the south storefront area, which used to be the area that was occupied by the men's store at Klein's department store. And so we've kind of gone through, for your benefit, the different occupants of this space. It has been originally converted from Klein's department store to the 6th Street Pub, then to Martini's, then to being part of El Adirón Mexican Restaurant, then being part of Johnny Rotten's, and then Fuego, and now Spicoli's Sandwich Shop. And so as we looked back through, we found that only Martini's and El Adirón received sign permits for exterior signage, and the other businesses operated with window signs that didn't require permits or review. So last December, the City staff received a sign permit application for a proposed wall-mounted sign for this sandwich shop in the south 25-foot bay of the building. The sign is about 21 inches high by 72 inches wide. It's a plywood sign with polymetal applied to both sides. The proposed sign was to be mounted to the building by a metal pole, and this is a type of sign that staff would refer to as a projecting sign because it projects out over the public right-of-way. So on December 19th, the Planning Division reported back to the permit applicant that because this property is on North Santa Fe and in the Business Improvement District, we cannot issue a sign permit until and unless a certificate of compatibility had been approved. And so we are in receipt of that application, but unfortunately sometime between that time and the current time, and this item was scheduled for review, the sign was installed. So we have some drawings that are projections of what the sign was to look at, like submitted with a permit application, and then we're not trying to confuse things, but we also have some photographs of what the sign looks like because it's already up. So while this is a awkward situation, staff still cannot issue a sign permit for this sign without a certificate of compatibility, even if the board grants it as an after-the-fact post-construction permit. So we have summarized for you the design guidelines that relate to signs downtown. The building owner wants to enhance the visibility of the new sandwich shop by installing this new projecting sign. The sign, as you can tell, has some similarities to recently approved signs for the Prickly Pear and Ad Astra bookstore. It would consist of script lettering on a multicolor routed plywood sign. It extends out about 90 inches or 7.5 feet out over the sidewalk, and the salad bar sign hangs below. So it's proposed to be 12 feet above the sidewalk with that bar. The sign, as we understand it, would not be illuminated. So as we indicated, we have a sketch provided to us of the proposed sign, and then we also have photographs of the sign as installed. And so we have looked at the wall sign, lettering, the logo, the color scheme. Those all seem to be compatible with the building. The general profile, material, color doesn't really contrast with the building's exterior. It's not covering up or obscuring any distinctive features. It's your responsibility as a board to make the determination whether this would be in character with the front facade. One thing that we noticed, I think, from the even from the time photographs were taken, at least when I went by to look at the property, the Fuego signs were still in the window facing the street, and then after the packet went out, I drove by and saw that that had been converted from Fuego's over to Spicoli's Toasted Sub sign. So that those comments about removal of the signs relating to Fuego, it appears have already been done, but at the time that staff prepared the report, the sign was still in the window. So on page 6 of your report, we've highlighted, we think, guidelines that have been met that could be cited for approval. And so your options today would be to approve the certificate of compatibility upon finding that the sign installation will conform with the design guidelines for downtown Salina. You could approve the application subject to any conditions a majority of the board approves. You could postpone consideration in order to acquire additional information concerning the proposal. You would need to cite a future meeting date, or you could deny the application as presented upon making findings of fact for denying approval of the sign. We would request some confirmation of the method and amount of internal illumination or exterior illumination, if any, of the sign. And then confirmation of the method of attachment prior to the board taking any action on the request. But we've outlined those things on page 2 of your report. So just a brief, this is not the first time that the board has been faced with an after-the-fact permit. We've had 2 cases that I can recall of buildings being demolished without demolition permits and still having to come before the board to get after-the-fact approval because staff can't issue an after-the-fact permit without the board's review and authorization. So that is why this is being brought to you today. As far as the actions or consequences for doing work without a permit, one potential consequence that the building official has is to do what is called an administrative fee, which is essentially a financial penalty that's tacked on to the permit fee because the work was done without the permit. The other thing is that the City of Salina has licensing of contractors, and there's various levels of contractor discipline for doing work without permits or outside the code. So those have not been determined yet, but we certainly feel in an awkward position bringing this to you after it's already been put up.
Okay.
I guess, was there confusion on, do you know, was on why it was put up before? Did they, or doesn't?
Well, I don't. I know Mr. Hers did the review. I know Mr. Hers in his, it was clearly, the information was clearly provided that we couldn't issue a sign permit. So one, there could be confusion about downtown design review and those things, but there shouldn't be confusion about whether you need a sign permit, and there has been no sign permit issued.
Okay.
So the work proceeded without a sign permit.
Okay.
And I think when she
Yeah.
speaks, I don't know if you saw her hand go up.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did. Okay. If there isn't anything more from staff or any questions from staff, or for staff, then I would hear from the applicant or representative.
Hi, I'm Kiva, and I'm from Gleason and Son Signs. I kind of am in the middle of this. I designed the sign, and the owner and our installation guys, they kind of direct their own schedule, so I don't do any of the scheduling. I just physically make the signs. So they said somebody had to come today, and Josh is out on installation, so I'm here. I know the sign, and I don't do any of the permitting either, so that's where I'm at, is they just kind of dropped this on me, so I'm here to speak with you folks and see what you have to say.
Could we get a full name and Gleason Son's address,
Yeah.
just for the record?
Sure. Kiva Kristen Ashy.
Okay. And Gleason Son Signs is at,
It's at 2440 North 9th Street in
Okay.
Salina.
Okay.
so yeah, it's the people that are the installers, the licensed contract, those are because in the city of Salina, only a registered or licensed sign contractor can erect signs, and so the
So in this circumstance,
this
it was the
circumstance, it's
installer
the
for Gleason and
Yes,
Sons.
it's not the designer, not the sign company itself, but it should be the responsibility of the contractor installer to confirm that they have a permit in hand before they do the installation. So that's where the breakdown is, and I guess I would refer back to Mr. Hers to explain to the board who the applicant was for the sign permit and who the letter went to on December 19th, informing them of the need for this action.
So the sign contractor is Gleason Sun Signs, and they were the applicant for the sign permit. And whenever we receive a sign permit application in the downtown area that has not come before this board, we have kind of a standard statement or a comment that we share with the applicant, letting them know that they need to apply for a certificate of compatibility and come before this board for your approval before we're able to issue the permit. And so our comment in that situation was we did not approve the sign permit, and the comment was that they needed to come and apply for a certificate of compatibility before this board and seek your approval before we could issue the permit or even review it.
But who do we think that plan review letter went to?
It would be Gleason and Sun Signs.
But is there not an individual associated with filling out the permit application?
Well, Tiffany Nagel with Gleason and Sun Signs does a lot of their paperwork on that side of the operation.
So if there was, it seems that the likelihood of our plan review letter would have gone to Tiffany Nagel at Gleason and Son Signs, and so whatever breakdown in communication occurred at that point.
Okay.
And so we don't know all the internal workings of sign companies. Sign companies tend to have people that are designers and work with businesses on coming up with designs, and then they have their installation side. So it's a matter of internal communication on their side, but I think staff in this case was pretty clear in our communication. So
Okay. All that being said, are there any other questions for?
yeah, we don't want to get distracted and not focus on the sign itself.
Right, for Gleason and Signs?
I
Sign-
guess we'll
signs.
clarify
Oh,
the
the lighting.
illumination, no,
Unilluminated?
yeah.
And there's no plan for it to be illuminated?
No.
No, okay. I think that's all, unless Jennifer, you're muted. Do you have anything?
Do we know, then we probably don't have any information of how it was attacked up there, or,
I believe it was, I know it was like a metal bar type thing, and then where they drilled probably screws into the wall or something like that to hold it up, and then that metal bar that was constructed had like a couple things that come down, and it was a surfboard style design. So and then that was a piece of wood that had polywood or polymetal on either side, and then vinyl on either side of that.
Okay.
So the installation to us looks very similar as the proposed installation method for the Ad Astra sign. The difference being that this is screwed into the masonry wall, whereas the Ad Astra sign, they were going to attach it to the bottom of the overhang of the balcony. And so in this case, it's attached directly to the wall. In that case, the signs are similar in design, similar in location. It's just one's attached to the building, one was attached to the balcony. But this looks like a metal plate with screws that were used to attach the arm to directly to the wall of the building.
Okay. Anything else, Jennifer, on that? No? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All that being said, and it's on and everything, and based on when I was reviewing these materials from staff, that really the hiccup here is that it was installed before a permit, but the staff doesn't have any issues with this sign meeting all of the standards, and there's nothing that is of any concern of what I could see.
And we don't have any concerns about how it would in any way conflict with the design guidelines. Again, it's multi-colored, but it does seem to fit in with that block in the streetscape, and it's certainly similar in design and appearance to what was done at Prickly Pear and what was proposed at Ad Astra.
Okay, and what was installed matches what
what was
presented
Yes.
in the sign package.
Yes,
Okay.
there's no deviation between what was applied for, and so if you look at the proposed drawings and the as-installed photographs, they pretty well match. They put it where they said they were going to. It's the same dimensions, the same
Okay.
style. It's a question of timing, and our role is to deal with any consequences for doing it without a permit. Your role is just determine whether the sign would be in character with the front facade and with our design guidelines, so.
Okay. Those are all the questions I have, unless anybody.
Okay. I don't have anything else.
No. Okay. Well, I would entertain a motion or other comments on this proposal.
I would go ahead and move to approve the application based on the fact that the proposed sign installation conforms with the design guidelines for downtown. I don't think we probably need any worry about the exceptions if the design changes because it's already done. So I'm going with option one there.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
That is one advantage of this approach, is that you don't need that condition to make sure what gets installed conforms. So.
Won't have any
Already done.
surprises.
Okay, I am seeing no administrative items or preliminary discussion items.
Yeah, so our next scheduled meeting is July 23rd, and we have
Why?
March 23rd.
I can say, wow.
I'm wishful thinking. And so we have 2 items scheduled for that, and they're both signs. So we have a sign proposed. There's been some facade improvements done at the building at the corner of Iron and South 5th, the southwest corner, and so there's a proposed signage for Carol Lee Donuts there. And then Trivent Financial, that's at 110 East Iron, has some proposed changes to signage there. And so those 2 items will be heard on the 23rd. And so we will try to, especially in the case of signs, which are simpler than some other projects, we try to do those in as timely manner as possible. So we will be reconvening on the 23rd,
Okay.
but in March, not July.
Okay, if there is no unfinished or other business, do we have any members of the public?
We do not have anyone from the public on Zoom right now.
Okay.
I would just add under other
Oh, okay, sorry.
business that we did have a new member appointed by the city commission to this board.
Oh.
And then I can't remember how many days it took, Margie. 1 day? Yeah, so on the day that we notified them that they'd been appointed, they responded back that they'd had a change in their work schedule and were not able to serve on the board, so they resigned their appointment. So we did not have a net gain. The just by way of information, the contractors for First Bank have begun their demolition work on the arcade on South Santa Fe, and we've issued permits for that, and they've begun some of the facade renovation, and then we have received permit applications for Building 2 for the Lee Lofts project, and so there's permits in, and there may be work commencing fairly soon on that. So in terms of cases that you have reviewed, those are things that are moving forward. And then
Can I ask a question actually about the First Bank arcade?
Yeah.
Did they come up with a lighting solution?
I do not believe that they have submitted a lighting plan,
Okay.
but there is language. It's it was a little bit unusual. There was a deed prepared to transfer ownership of that property, and there were like 11 stipulations that were put in the deed that they had to meet, and that would include things coming back. So if they go in and install, so they've got bare walls today, if they go in and install windows or anything else in the sides of those arcades, then we're going to be bringing that back to you, and then that would be an appropriate time to ask about that.
Okay.
But there's a condition on there that basically they have a permit to take the roof off, demolish, do everything. If they once they go back in and start making changes within the arcade, then they would have to bring that back to you.
Okay.
So we're at step one, and to the best of my knowledge, we have not transferred over ownership of the arcade to First Bank yet.
Okay. Okay.
And then I think you're aware of the alley vacation that was done on first reading, and second reading is scheduled for Monday. And then the next step with that is that when we do an alley vacation, the ordinance gets recorded in the Register of Deeds office, and it's the recording of the ordinance that transfers the ownership. So
Great. Okay.
I think that's all the business that we have for you this afternoon.
Okay. Is there any member of the public?
We do not have anyone in the room or on Zoom right now.
Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.